Welcome back, disciples, to Discipleship Ministries. Thank you so much for clicking on and tuning in to today's video. My name is Dylan Poindexter. I am so excited that you are here joining us today. And I just believe that God has given me a word that is going to speak to hearts and lives today. I've entitled my message, Don't Go Back. And once again, if this is your first time here, I hope that you'll consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to join this community where we are growing a community of believers who are like-minded in the love of Jesus Christ, going to fulfill the Great Commission to go and preach and teach and share the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ. Once again, we are talking about don't go back. And the verse we're going to be in today is in Exodus, and it's chapter 16, verse number 3. And I'm going to be reading out of the NLT translation today. And it says, "If only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt," they moaned. "There we sat around pots filled with meat and ate all the bread we wanted. But now you have brought us into the wilderness to starve us all to death." You see, the Israelites were complaining about not having food. And they were so distraught that they even thought about going back to the captivity that they just came from. Moses just performed this miracle. He parted the Red Sea. With God has given him the power. He parted the Red Sea. He saved them from Egypt. And now they're in the wilderness. And they're complaining about not having any food. And they're like, at least in Egypt we had this. We were slaves, but we at least had this. Now, we read this today and we go, how sad, right? But see, many of us do this exact same thing each and every day. See, I know I've done it in my life. There have been things that I've been captive to that I've went back to because it was more comfortable. See, maybe it's an addiction, maybe it's a habit, maybe it's an old thing, a past experience, maybe it's an old job, maybe it's an old lifestyle that you just used to live like, and you're like, God, you've delivered me from it, but why do I still have the temptation? Why do I still want that? The enemy tries to implant in our minds that it was at least better when we were doing this. Look at what he did to the Israelites. He's like, he planted in their heads, we at least had food in Egypt. We were held captives. We were treated terribly, but we at least had food. See, on a daily basis, we go, at least doing this, having this thing that I've been doing for years was better because I knew, I was comforted by it. I knew that this is what it was going to be every time. But now I'm uncomfortable. I'm out here in the wilderness trying to starve to find food. So we end up going back from what God has delivered us from. The same things that we ask God for forgiveness for, we are going back to months later. Don't go back. Remember what God has promised you, what He has promised that He was going to do for you. He was going to give you a better life, a more joyful experience, a more joyful life experience. See, He has promised you a place, just like He did the Israelites. He has promised you a place that is better than the chains holding you down. It's so much better to be with God. See, the Israelites were looking for food. They were looking for a momentary satisfaction. Man, if that won't preach that the enemy likes to hand us momentary satisfactions when God tries to deliver us from captivity to give us a better life that will satisfy us eternally. We oftentimes, turn back and go for a momentary satisfaction when over here God has a lifetime of satisfactions. I'm so thankful that in my life, God has taken me from momentary satisfactions. I want to say thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. I hope that this message has reminded you to not go back. Don't let the enemy take you back. You are a strong, believer in Christ, don't go back to the way you were living. God has called us to go out of Egypt and into the promised land, and He does not want us to go back, and He will provide. That's the main thing I want you to get, is that God will take care of His people. So don't go back. Once again, I want to say thank you so much, all your love and support. If this is your first time here, once again, I hope you consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. We're posting daily on there, just encouragement, and I hope that you will join this community of believers like-minded in the love of Christ to go out and to fulfill the Great Commission, which is to preach and teach the gospel to every heart and every tongue. Also, make sure you go down to the description below, click the link to go to our podcast hosting website. There you'll be able to find us on many different podcast streaming networks like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and a bunch of other services. Go follow them, go like them, go share the ministry. I know that you guys are just continuing to support, and once again I thank you for that. And finally, God bless you and have a wonderful day.